Hi everyone, it's John. Welcome back to my channel. It is January 26th, 2022, and I know last week I said I would I promised you a book review, but I just realized that I had a huge pile of books I've picked up over the last few weeks, and I haven't shown any new books since before Christmas. So I recant, instead of a book review, which we can do next week, I just wanted to show some new books that have come into my library instead. And I'll start off with four that I actually found on Saturday at one of my local library annex sales they always have going on. And I've never been able to find any Chinese literary classics, penguins in good condition, in retail bookstores or otherwise. But I was lucky to find volume one of Xiao Xuixin's The Story of the Stone, which is probably more commonly known as The Dream of the Red Chamber. This is volume one. It is in 5 volumes, so it is sort of Proustian in size at least. I figured I would read volume one, and if I liked it, go on to the others. This is one of the great 4 or 5 novels from Chinese history. The author lived in the early to mid 18th century. Next is a book I think I heard about from Sean Stanfast's channel. Excuse me. It was put out quite a while ago. I think it came out in the 60s, but it's supposed to be sort of a canonical text on the study and archaeology of Iraq. This is called Ancient Iraq by Georges Roux. I had seen this before, but it had been a while. This was published in 2009. This is George, Nicholas, and Wilhelm by Miranda Carter. 3 Royal Cousins and the Road to World War I. And last from the library annex was, I have had really great luck reading the Oxford University History of the United States series. I don't know how many they officially have out now. It's probably got to be, at least 10 or 11. Apparently volume 10 takes us up through 1974. So this is one of them by David Kennedy. It is Freedom from Fear, The American People in Depression and War, 1929 to 1945. It is a sizable, well over 900 pages when you include the text and everything, the index. So the rest are things I've gotten from other library annex sales, as well as Hamilton Books, Book Outlet, here, there, and everywhere. So I have somewhat developed an affinity for these. never really anticipated this. These Reader Digest editions of books. Now that I've actually started liking them, I've started seeing them everywhere. But this is a volume of Sherlock Holmes short stories called The Return of Sherlock Holmes, by, of course, Arthur Conan Doyle. And I found not just one, but 2. I also found the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. And these are both short stories. They're not... I was thinking that maybe it had a novel in here, but it's just the stories. This I found when I went up to Austin one weekend in December, I think, and went to a half-price book there. This is Ford's The March of Literature. And this is basically just a huge book of essays put out by the Dalkey Archive. I'm sure this would never have been reprinted if it weren't for them. Of truly the history of literature. And when I say the history of literature, I mean he starts with like the sound of language, like onomatopoeia and rhyme, and then he goes into Egypt's golden age, and then goes into the very, very earliest of Chinese plays and drama. But it is, I mean, this is essays on probably 4,000, 4,500 years of literature. Great. Great, great, great stuff. And as I think, one of the last things that he published before Ford Madox Ford died. Next, I've read a couple of books by Brenda Wineapple, the American historian, and have always been pretty impressed. So I picked this one up too. This is Ecstatic Nation, Confidence Crisis, and Compromise from 1848 to 1877 by Brenda Wineapple. And so if you watch my reviews, you know that a while ago I put out a review of a book by John Meacham about Thomas Jefferson. It really sort of got me interested in maybe finding a more comprehensive, maybe more intellectual biography of Jefferson. And towards that end, I found these. Total serendipity, actually. This is Jefferson the President, the first term, 1801 to 1805, by Dumas Malone. Excuse, there's cellophane on it. And this is, I'm not seeing which volumes these are, but I think this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. This is right before the presidency. This is Jefferson and the Ordeal of Liberty by Dumas Malone. Or Dumbass Malone, as his enemies called him. Some small books. Eudora Welty, The Ponder Heart. Really glad to find this. I don't really see this too terribly often at all. This is The House Behind the Cedars by Charles Chesnutt. The person behind the till at the library annex raved and raved about this book and said that it was one of the best books that they'd ever read. And I said, what did you like about it? And she proceeded to summarize the plot of the book, The Snow Falling on Cedars, which is a completely different book, written about very, very different things, but admittedly very, very close titles. But I thought it was funny that she confused it for this. Pudd'nhead Wilson and and Those Extraordinary Twins. Forgot about that subtitle. By Mark Twain. Howard's End by Ian Forrester. I already have a copy of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, but I pretty much would never turn down a nice clean copy of a Penguin portable whoever, whether it's Edgar Allan Poe or anyone else. So this is Edgar Allan Poe's The Portable Edgar Allan Poe by Penguin, which has not only short stories, but also I think some book reviews and some poetry and a few letters as well. Not really a huge fan of his poetry, I have to say. It's a little purple for me, but some people enjoy it. I already have the full collection of Eudora Welty short stories, but I saw this that was in great condition and thought I would get this 13 stories by Eudora Welty, and is also much more portable, needless to say. Some more Mark Twain. I'm not sure if I actually ever had this. I'm very ashamed to say it. I may, but it's in a box somewhere if I do. This is Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. 4,000 book library, and I don't think I have a copy of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. But I do now. This is something I did have another copy of, but I found another one for $1.25 in beautiful condition, totally mint, untouched. This is Volume 1 of Plutarch's Lives. I have another one. I'm just maybe I don't know why I got it, to be honest. Give it away to someone someday. And this is Charles King's Gods of the Upper Air. How a circle of renegade anthropologists reinvented race, sex, and gender in the 20th century. And the renegade anthropologists that we're talking about would be Margaret Mead, Ruth Benedict, and Franz Boas. Is that it? And maybe Ella Deloria, and possibly Zora Neale Hurston. I didn't know Zora Neale Hurston worked with gender too much, but I did know that she was formally trained in anthropology. So this looks like a nice, popular sort of maybe brisk overview of some of those issues in 20th century anthropology. Okay, so these are all the fault of Peg from the History Shelf. Every once in a while she will post some books from the book outlet that I overlook. I used to check it more before they revamped their site and lost all of my information and to recreate a new account and everything. But I still look at it every once in a while, and I inevitably miss things. But sometimes she'll show something that I want, so I'll need to get on there and go pick it up. And this is one of them. It's Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy by Joseph Schumpeter. This is apparently the book in which Schumpeter first introduces his idea of capitalism as creative destruction. That is the big idea that Schumpeter sort of offered 20th century economic theory. I am woefully underread in economics. Underread is probably not quite stating it strongly enough. So I don't know if I'll get around to this anytime soon, but it is something that interests me at the end of the day, so I did buy it. This is Salman Rushdie's, I think his requested or preferred pronunciation, he says in the beginning of the book, is Quixote. It's not Quixote, even though he doesn't really care, as he says, how you pronounce it. I've read 2 or 3 other Rushdie novels and always end up really, really enjoying the playfulness that he has with language and linguistic inventiveness. He's just a really playful kind of writer. He reminds me a lot of Nabokov, especially in books like Lolita. So I picked, this is, as of now, I think it's his last novel that he's come out with. When Peg mentioned this, I knew I had to get on. Uh, I must have had a coworker of mine 8 or 10 years ago tell me about Richard Rhodes's book, The Making of the Atomic Bomb. And I only bought it and showed it on this channel a number of months ago, maybe 6 months ago. And I've always kept a lookout for this, and apparently they had it, and I had overlooked it, and Peg showed it to me. This is Dark Sun, not the making of the atomic bomb, but the making of the hydrogen bomb. Every bit as thick and seemingly exhaustive, well over 600 pages. But I'm interested in both. So, and I heard from my coworker that it was maybe one of the best books he's ever read on science and technology in the 20th century. So, Peggy told me this was great. I think she wrote a review of it somewhere. Maybe. Oh, Peg, where is your review of this? Let me know. This is by Wade Davis. It's Magdalena River of Dreams. As far as I understand it, it is essentially a travelogue of Colombia, a piece of extended travel writing about traveling through the country of Colombia. And she said it was just exquisitely done. So I figured that I would pick it up. And I've read the first few pages. I haven't started it or picked it up in order to finish it, but I read the first few pages, and I have to agree, it is very well written. So I'll read this eventually. This is Square Haunting, 5 Writers in London Between the Wars by Francesca Wade. And those writers are, I know Virginia Woolf is one of them. H.D., the Hilda Doolittle, the famous poet. Dorothy Sayers, Jane Ellen Harrison, and Eileen Power, the sort of medieval historian and economist. Historian of economics of the Middle Ages. So apparently they knew one another during the 20s and 30s. And this tells, I think it's basically just 5 sort of potted biographies of them. And the only person I'd never heard of is Jane Ellen Harrison. So I look forward to learning more about who that is. 2 more. Apologize for the inordinate length of the video. This is Cold Warriors, Writers Who Waged the Literary Cold War by Duncan White. And this is another sort of hefty book talking all about writers who wrote either for or against communism or Western-style capitalism during the Cold War. Sort of talks about their work, their lives, maybe I'm guessing the formation of their political ideologies. There's George Orwell, of course. Let's see who. Turn to the front so I can tell you who else is included, just in case you might be interested. So Orwell, Arthur Koestler, Stephen Spender, Isaac Babel, Mary McCarthy, Graham Greene, Ernest Hemingway, Anna Akhmatova, Solzhenitsyn, Richard Wright, Boris Pasternak, John le Carré, and Václav Havel. So really sort of spans the much of the 20th century, as you would hope. And last but not least, I've seen everyone and their mother talk about this book or this author, and I thought this would be nice to slowly make my way through during the year of 2022, since it is a bunch of smaller pieces, some of which admittedly are quite long themselves, but the book is over 900 pages. It is the William H. Gass reader in a nice, wonderful hardback. It has his criticism, essays, a couple of excerpts from his novels, essays on artists, Ezra Pound, Rilke, Malcolm Lowry, Colette, Paul Valéry, Robert Voxer, etc. But glad to have found this, because I've heard that he's a really, really, really smart writer. And I did, a couple of years ago, pick up Omen Setter's Luck and read about half of it, and was really impressed, but ended up not finishing it for whatever reason. So those are the books that I've managed to pick up over the last, I guess 6 or 7 weeks or so. If you have any thoughts or ideas about them, or want to share whatever you think, if you've read them, let me know down below, and I will see you next week, hopefully with a sui generis review and not more scads of books. Thanks. Bye.